What's up, nerds? After my video last week about, the real value of your trading cards, I thought I would follow up with how to ship those cards. If you do buy, sell, trade, what are the dangers of not properly protecting your shipped cards? I know some of you are out there saying you get a plain white envelope, you get your card, and what you do is you put it in there and you ship it. It's ready to go. Wait, no, address, I forgot. All right, now you have your address and you're ready to ship. You put it in the mail with a stamp on it. It disappears into the ether. Well, somewhere along the line, postal sorting machine decides to eat it. And then your package looks something like this. And then it gets rained on or trampled on by the dog, and it gets to your buyer, and your buyer's like, sweet, I've got this card. And they pull it out, and it looks something like this. And yes, this can happen. It's happened to me. So I'm here to kind of show you some things that might help. So the damage during transit, like it gets stomped on or it gets crushed underneath a package or it gets violated in a postal sorting machine, those are probably your biggest issues in shipping. Sometimes those postal sorting machines have, real issues and just decide to tear right into your package. And this card really didn't make it, did it? But at least we can tell it was a genuine Magic card because it's got the layers. How about that? Sometimes packages can be damaged by moisture, rain, snow, weather. You also have to make sure that your card is secure, doesn't slip around. Packages can get lost or delayed in the mail, which sometimes causes friction with buyers and sellers. Some people get a little aggressive with the amount of tape they put, to hold their card in place. And of course, there's always the incorrect address issue. But I've got a technique that I've used that keeps these issues far from my door. It's maybe not perfect, but so far it has been. All right, the first thing you need is your card. So you start with this, and now you want to protect your card. First thing I do is I slip it into a Dragon Shield Perfect Fit, so it's nice and snug, not too snug. I didn't have to bend the card to get it in there. And then I'm going to take a regular penny sleeve and slip it in there too. So this thing is protected from both directions. This edge is covered, this edge is covered. We're good to go. And then some people might feel like this is overkill. I'm going to grab a Perfect Saver, like the type you send cards in to be graded card sleeve. It's semi-rigid, and that's on purpose, so the card can bend a little bit without things being crazy. And the slimness of the graded card sleeve is going to help you prevent issues when it goes through those automatic card sorters. I'll explain that in a minute. So I've got this all together. And my next step is to take some painter's tape. Painter's tape is what you want, not any other kind of tape. It comes off easier. It's not as sticky, but it definitely protects. And I put the painter's tape starting on the back and make sure it folds over the front lip there. And then I'm going to take the end of it and make like kind of a tab to make it easier for the buyer to pull off this tape. So if you make a little tab, it's easier for them to grab it and just pull when they're ready to have their card, not sealed in plastic. So the next step, I've got my card ready. My next step is I get my invoice, I get my envelopes, and sometimes I use a size 6. Back then when I used the size 6, I used to have to cut out, a lot of people do this, you cut out the ship to address and then you tape it on here. I would put a piece of packing tape over it just to make sure it was protected. But I've started using the size 10 left window envelopes, and it's much easier because it saves you some steps. The invoice is perfectly built for this. Fold it over starting at that first dotted line, and that's so your address shows up perfectly in the little window. Then on the other end, you fold it about the same amount. There's a reason for this, because then when you fold it again into itself, it's just the right size to fit in your envelope. Sorry about the shaky camera, everything's a little wonky here. So it's the perfect size to fit in your envelope. So I'm going to then take my card and I tuck it in the middle here. So it's extra protected by the layers of paper. And I'm going to slide it into my envelope. I'm going to peel this, stick it down. I can see the address on the front. Well, it's been redacted because, I don't want you guys to harass this dude. I do have a stamp with my business name. I put it on there. And then I take a good old first class stamp and slap it right there in the upper right-hand corner. Sometimes I take this a little bit further just to make sure I reinforce the envelope, because you have these little flaps here. And now this kind of depends on, how much you're willing to risk. But these little flaps can get caught. So I will take a piece of packing tape and I will run it across the back of the envelope to make sure that is all sealed down nicely. You can even go to the extra step of covering the edges with packing tape as well, because that can help in case things do get caught in one of those sorting machines. Remember what those things look like. The stuff was flying through at a mile a minute. And also remember how I use that flexible card saver. So if this gets bent a little bit, it's going to bend but not break. Your card is just going to kind of go with the flow, especially if it's nicely packaged like that. So if it does go through a machine and it has to bend a little bit, it's going to help protect it. The trick with regular top loaders, they're a little thicker and they have a hard edge, and sometimes they can get caught and then there's tears. So that's how I do it. Of course, if your card's worth more than just a few dollars, you're probably going to want to use a bubble mailer and a top loader. TCG Player, for example, requires that anything over $50 is shipped with tracking. And shipping with tracking, I highly recommend you're going to use a bubble mailer. You're going to use a top loader. Use the same tape technique that I used on the flexible card holder. And you're going to make sure that you go to a site like I use PayPal ShipStation and put your address in there and ship it from there with tracking. Or take it to the post office. I like to take care of things in my basement. So that's it. That's the way I do it. Some of you will say it's overkill, and I say it's what keeps my customers happy. And happy customers means happy me. You take care of it this way, your card is ready to fly all the way around the world without turning into an accordion or something that the dog ate, like yesterday's homework. If I helped you at all, let me know. If you have a different technique, I'd like to hear about that too, and I definitely want to hear about your horror stories. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. You guys are amazing. Thanks for watching.